join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and just to let everyone know, we are being recorded. And just to remind the members and Dr. Colley to please speak into the microphone. And
Testing.
we'll get some signals from Beth if we...
Testing, 1, 2.
All right, comments and statements from the public? Anyone? Danny Marks is not here. He's busy, I'm sure. Jay Pacheco is running late. Dr. Colley, the Westport Middle School update.
Well, hello, can you hear me?
Oh, my mic wasn't on. Hope.
Mine's not working at all. Hello?
Is it on?
It's on. Hello?
Okay. All right, while we're doing that, let me just start again. So, comments and statements from the public? Seeing none. Mr. Marks, Danny Marks, the student rep, is not here because he is very busy. Jay Pacheco is running late. And so, Dr. Colley, the Westport Middle School update.
We have received notice that part of the reason why the middle school study hasn't been finished is because they were waiting for Fuss and O'Neill to finish their EPA report, which apparently got bigger than they expected because it has to go on one of those unless you want 4 3-inch or 4-inch binders, which we just got those yesterday, so they'll be going to Jason, the architect, to finish his report. So if you want to take a look, each one of those has all the information that we've received on the middle school, plus all the reports that Fuss and O'Neill by law has to provide to the EPA. So now this report is final. It includes basically the statement of interests that we have put to the MSBA, in part because there's a section that the EPA requires, which is what is the long-term plan for the middle school. And they need to put something in there. And at one point in time, they were going to put unknown, and they knew the EPA was going to kick it back. But once we did the statement of interest, they have now included that into this report. So that now goes to the EPA. I asked that it may take as many as 6 to 8 months for them to review and then either accept or not accept the plan. So it includes things like the frequency of monitoring. It includes things like approval of the idea that you would abandon the school if that ever comes to pass. Any of those procedures that we have made to keep the PCBs away from the kids, the encapsulation of the PCBs in the windows, that has to be approved by them, the encapsulation of the PCBs like in the loading dock where we put the sheathing against the remaining tectum, keeping the doors going up and down the stairwells that still have the tectum closed. All those little pieces of the plan now have to be approved, hopefully, by the EPA. So that's the next piece for at least the Fuss and O'Neill part. And then now Jason can finish his report, and hopefully we'll get it soon.
Dr. Clark, but we don't want to mix two things. The Fuss and O'Neill report is...
Well, Jason
is one
needed
thing.
this report, the CGKV architects needed this report in order to finish theirs. And since it just got finished.
And there's also a link on the school committee website on the right-hand
Right, to the
side.
report.
It says PCB report and plan. So everything is there. It's the
So
same.
anybody else in the audience who wants to go look through. The first part of the report is the actual plan and what we've done, the history and the plan for the school. There's a lot of appendices which carry all the information of all the studies that have been done in terms of all the tests that were done, when they were done, the results of each one of those tests individually and collectively. So it looks daunting, but the report is probably a good half-inch thick. The rest is all the data that went into it. So,
The Fuson O'Neill report.
yes. So
Okay.
based on this report, they'll finish the one from CGKV Architects.
But with the CJKV report, I mean, the intent of that was to give us an idea of what it would take for us if we,
if we
you
didn't
know,
abandon the
I mean,
middle
yes,
school.
we've got the SOIs in now, but, that's something else. But, if that doesn't come to fruition, we need to know what it would take to
to
make that
correct
school-
everything that's
to correct
listed
everything,
in that
yes.
report that you just got.
So that's what
That's what we're
we are
waiting
waiting
for.
for. Okay. Anybody have anything on that? All right, Dr. Colley, monthly enrollment.
Monthly enrollment, hold on, let me flip one more page. The attendance, as you can see, is actually quite high. In the high 90s, low 90s for the high school. I'm a little concerned that with the good weather coming on, high school may start to see some drop in attendance, especially at the last grade of the high school. As we get closer and closer, graduation is, I believe, the 15th.
Their
if I-
last day is late too,
So
compared to other
they're
senior
going
classes.
to be here longer than many other area schools. So my hope is they get encouraged to stay in school till the last day.
Don't look at me.
I'm not looking at you. I'm just saying. I'm hoping parents keep sending them to school. Other than that, the number's still around 1685 or so.
Okay, nothing unusual here. Okay. Anybody want to add anything?
I just have,
Joe?
the preschool attendance, it's not usually that low, is it?
At this time
I
of
mean,
the
I
year,
realize they're paying for
it-
that.
at this year it tends to be lower. I look back a couple of
Vacations?
years. I don't know if it's vacations or, half days. If it's a nice day, preschool, some parents choose not to send them. I can give you some idea of next year. However, I just looked at the numbers that Julie Picetto has sent, and at this point, and I'm going to take the shot here to encourage parents who have students who are of kindergarten age. If you have not registered, please, 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 please don't wait till August. Register now,
Say that nice and loud.
so that we can get our teachers some class lists, or at least some idea of how many students they're going to have in each class, so that we can start planning for next year. Because right now it's in the 80 to 90 range. So imagine, usually we get anywhere between 10 and 20 kids. So it would be around 100 if that holds, but that's even lower than this year. So it would be a very small class, so I'm a little concerned that if people haven't been paying attention and haven't taken their paperwork in to register, that it's just a false reading that we have a very small class coming in. So my hope is if there's anybody out there that's hearing this that hasn't registered their kindergartner, to please come in and do it.
Okay. ahead, Dr. Colley, the budget update, FY13 budget update.
FY13, a few of you have already come in and asked questions about this one. It's basically our estimate or tracking of how much money we have left in the budget and what we intend to use a good portion of it for. We still are tracking that about $72,000 worth of salary savings. It's still there in the budget. We haven't allocated it to anything. We do have on the regular ed expenses a lot of things that are still not been paid for, so they show up as money still left in the budget, but there's a lot of those that are already spoken for. So for example, projecting utilities from previous years, course reimbursement, the legals, we're estimating we're going to use about 140 of that. The MASBO audit that the school committee requested, we just signed the papers and sent them a whole big packet to preview. They'll be here at the end of June to review the operations of the business side of the schools. We do need to go through and get another copier through the purchase lease agreement that we have. We're still working with the staff, in particular to purchase texts to figure out exactly which versions and how much of the supplementary materials that they want to purchase. So Dr. Dargan is meeting with the teachers in groups, both for science, math, and ELA. So that's happening. We also want to bring Landmark for a little bit longer in June to prepare teachers who are probably going to be receiving students with language-based needs for next year. So we want to do some planning with them, including what kids are going to go into what classroom and how much training they're going to need. Talked about the ELA, technology, ELL curriculum testing. We have, I have to tell you, I'm not exactly sure how to explain this because the state has embarked in this push to have just about every teacher that may ever see a student from a different language background in their classroom to get quite a bit of training in the next few years. If you're going to be working with them now, you have to get trained now. Otherwise, you have, I think it's until they recertify 3 years just about for most people. So we're going to have to, and that's in the budget as well, but we have a little bit of money now that we want to put in for getting some of the curriculum and materials in place, because we're going to start we already started the training with a couple of people, but we're going to do some of it over the summer. Maintenance and security, the committee had asked us to look into what could we do with some funding towards perhaps security at the doors or entrances of the school. So I have Beth talking to 2 companies that happen both to be on the state bid list, but it never hurts to talk to more than one company to see if we can get some better security. And if you want more details, call me on that. We had presented a plan to the school committee at one point in time, but that plan was a lot more expensive than this. So we're trying to see how much we can get for this amount. High school admin technology, I don't know if you got the emails, but we lost a piece of equipment. They do, eventually they die. It was a big switch, but when it got replaced and we had a new one put on, some of our computers just could not communicate. The upgrade of the machinery that helps students within the system internally communicate just could not go backwards to the old models that were sitting in the offices, so we had to replace a bunch of computers. Again, reading and writing supplies, instructional supplies go with the curriculum. We did talk to each of the schools, and now that we know we have additional funding, we basically gave them the go-ahead to purchase some things that were in that long list of wants and supply needs. And sped prepay, you had approved that way back. We have a couple of things we had to buy. Hoyer lift and the seat are basically equipment for the OT and PT. And at one point in time, we had talked about the possibility of purchasing the van from the operational budget rather than let the town borrow it. As you know, at town meeting, the warrant article passed, so they have the ability to purchase it and then eventually bond for that and any of the other capital outlays that they had in that article warrant. So I don't know if you want me to remove that from there. If we do, then that will mean that your bottom line surplus is going to be around 130.
So any,
So right now, we're looking through the whole $50 million budget, maybe a little under, actually under 1%.
Melissa?
Well, I would think that if we have funding in this year's budget for the van and maybe even possibly the other vehicle, we'd look to purchase it versus bond it, because that's just going to cost more in the long run if we have the funding.
It can be done.
Anybody else want to add to that? It's in the budget, we spend it.
No,
and
I agree. That we aren't paying the interest on this money you're spending.
Yeah, so do you need a motion for that?
No, if I
Informational anyway.
get the direction that that's how you want to go, then I'll notify the town that they don't have to purchase it, so they can hopefully save themselves a little bit of money in terms of the long range and even the short-term borrowing costs.
So we'll pay for the van out of this year's surplus and
the
not
truck?
bond it out.
And the truck too?
Now,
Or just
the
the
truck
van?
isn't on there, but
I hadn't put the truck in here because we hadn't talked about the truck. This got put together just before we went into town meeting, so we hadn't talked about the truck. There's obviously, I had already accounted for the 20. If you have about 100,000, if you take the truck out of here, you still got about $72,000 left.
But the truck and the van was about 50,
Right.
correct?
But the 20 I already had accounted
Yeah,
for
the
in
van
this.
is here for 20.
The van.
would there be an issue in purchasing it prior to the end of the year? There's that.
No, because it's coming out of the state bid list.
Oh, so.
We actually looked at several state bid lists.
Yeah, I don't know, we can, is it the committee's pleasure that we do that, or?
To vote on it next meeting.
Oh my goodness. Guess what just came
Where's
in
our
the
study?
door? Is that the report? In case anybody wants to review, we do have one paper copy, so if anybody wants to come and review it, we obviously have it, so thank you to Fuzz and O'Neill who must have driven it down. I told them they didn't have to do that. I told them we'd download it first onto the...
We'll all take that home and read it
Yeah,
tonight.
we'll fight over that.
We'll read it tonight.
That's one copy.
That's one copy?
That's one copy.
We'll have to fight over it.
I think this is
That's why we're keeping it on the office.
All right, so
we
the
have
committee
that.
does not want to make a decision on the truck at this point? We'll,
well, we can't make a motion now because it's informational,
This is
right?
Informational. We'd have to put it on the agenda next meeting.
Either way, I mean,
We
if
still
I get a
have
sense
time.
from all
Right.
of you that it's
We have
okay, I
time,
could
so-
just go ahead and do it.
I mean, I just don't want to, tell you to go ahead and do that, and
So that we need to vote on.
we
Right.
have other things.
So we'll
in
put
mind.
it in the, we'll put it on the agenda for the next one. And I have enough time, because I'll make sure Mike has it all set and ready to go. If it's an okay vote, then we'll have it.
But we had, just so people understand, we had put that in, that was in there, but it was kind of all dependent on how the town meeting and what our final budget number was for next year. So, things worked out well on that end, so we, that's why we'll go ahead and
And sometimes
That
we do
money's
these
there.
things so far in advance of actually having
Yep.
figures towards the end of the year that you just can't plan what's going to happen 3 months down the road.
Okay. Yeah, just the van.
Well, we could put them both on the agenda and then the discussion can be had.
Right.
Okay, now the superintendent's mid-cycle rubric. Say that 3 times fast.
Third time. I did send, I know we sent you the rubric with the ones that back in, let's say, December or January, we had gone through and said that these were the ones that you wanted to pay attention to. You do have the mid-cycle formative assessment form, similar to what we use for the principals and everybody else. And the idea is you would look overall at what the standard is looking for. Obviously, I provided you with evidence of all the elements of each standard. But I think, yeah, Melissa has it. I went and pulled just the ones that are circled, and I sent it to you on email as well, if you want to look at those. But the idea is you look at the whole of that standard, maybe make some comments, and do some assessment of proficient needs improvement. I don't even know, unsatisfactory or exemplary. Circle one, and I guess turn it to Karen.
All right, so if you guys want to go ahead and just fill that out real quickly, if you can use your notes.
I don't think real quickly is a fair statement.
No?
and
Tony,
Yes, Caroline?
can I ask a question? The first standard, the instructional leadership piece, you do, Ann Dargan does a lot of the direct work with the principals, and then you and she talk about the stuff that she does with them. You also do observations yourself as well? Is that correct?
I do, but because we made the decision to let her do the direct supervision, if I go into a building and I do any kind of, it's not necessarily observations, but because I am in the building, I get information. I may see a principal working with somebody, did a good job. I may pass that along to her
Okay.
so that she can put it in her reports or her discussions with the principals as supervision.
Okay.
But other than that, I do meet with the whole administrative team or with principals individually over things like budgets and staffing, but not on the supervisory end.
Okay.
Yes.
And with regard to Standard 2, since you're also the business manager, you primarily are responsible for overseeing all of the business components,
Yes.
which is Standard 2E, the fiscal
E1.
system, right?
Yes.
E1. And this year you worked on establishing that executive summary.
When I look at that one, from a superintendent's, and again, it's hard because my position is superintendent, but it does have all the responsibilities of the school business official, and I do hold that license and I do the work. But when you look at the superintendent's rubric, it really focuses on the overall fiscal direction of the district. So I look at that as, yes, the executive summary, how to portray the budget for the school system and present it to the town, and the main financial goals for the district. So the budget itself and the executive summary would be the best example of what I do that any other superintendent would do or would get involved in. I obviously do more than that, but I didn't provide you a lot of information on that. There's a whole other rubric for school business officials that, if you want to review that, I can give you that one too.
So for those of you who may not understand what that was about, in Westport, we don't have a separate business manager. The superintendent in Westport is also the business manager.
Right.
With regard to Standard 3, which is family and community engagement, some of the examples I see is that you established the coffees that you run at the different buildings, as well as all of the buildings now have newsletters. You update a letter to the community on the website periodically, especially if something occurs, as in what happened in December with in Connecticut.
Yeah, or phone calls.
Oh, the one call system
one
as
call
well,
system.
reaching out. And in addition, obviously, you go to selectmen meetings, FinCom meetings.
CPIC meetings,
Right.
ADA meetings.
So there's a lot of connection with the town side of the operation. And this year, we were very successful in coming up with a consensus budget that was supported by the entire FinCom. It was a 9-0 vote in favor. So I think the communication piece is working out well this year, better than it was last year.
Thank you.
And with regard to Standard 4, which is professional culture, I've seen some things working well. I'm involved in some of the union negotiations that have been going well, and as well as the establishment of the evaluation system, which took a good deal of work cooperatively to get that approved and moving forward. And everybody, it seems to be on target with where we need to be, because we were a race to the top school, we had to come on board 1 year earlier than a lot of the other school systems. So I see those as some of the examples of the communication skills and consensus building.
When I look at the consensus building, if I may just, when you're talking about consensus, it's not just one direction either. So I got to give credit to the union people who also came to the table and worked really hard with us, and in particular to Dr. Dargan, who helped a lot. So thank you. I don't deserve all the credit on that.
I'm not evaluating them right now.
Oh, never mind.
I'm done.
Can I just make a comment that anything that you're saying in public, you're highlighting or letting me make note on
Yeah.
that,
I'm taking notes.
please? Make sure I have everything down that is said in public, so you just highlight it for me, I appreciate it.
And I have to say what's on here, right, is that correct?
correct.
Okay. So we're gonna do that after, although I'm not ready yet.
You don't have to say what's on there, you only have to
Oh.
say it if you want it included in the main document.
In the master document that I will be preparing.
Okay.
So basically, your document becomes public record, anybody can go in and take a look at what you wrote, but she won't put it on the compiled one unless you say it in open session.
Okay.
Just highlight whatever you would like to.
Your scores will be averaged in, not your comments, if you don't say them.
Okay, but I can say them, right? I just wanna finish
Right
that.
now.
Well,
Yeah,
I can't.
whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you.
You can say whatever you want, but you don't have to say it.
Okay, thank you.
But it won't get included if you don't. So it's weird. I don't get it. Tony?
Yes, Ms. Africano.
And I just wanted to thank you for the 3-page
I'm sorry.
summary that you gave us, where you articulated, I think it explained the big binder that you put together and pointed out how one piece of evidence could touch
Conceivably.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different standards. So that was very helpful.
Actually, I'm not texting. That's actually what I'm looking at.
Oh, here.
That's
There you
okay.
go.
It's
I
easier
just-
to read
I
in
use
big
the
print.
technology. I don't care.
I do.
Yeah,
I
I
do
printed
too.
it.
I don't like these.
So, and then also providing us with the standards that we had spent a long meeting determining which ones we wanted to focus on, was helpful as well. Sandy?
With your name.
Okay. I'm all set.
Don't pressure.
Check
I took your email to heart.
I took his email to heart too. It's one of the things that I want to make sure is as I'm listing this in and writing down what my comments are, is there are standards that identify what is considered to be unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and exemplary. So I just want to make sure that as I'm doing that, it's tying back so that I can say this is why it's that. So sorry.
No, I'm not done either.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Your machine over there is going crazy. I just got it. I don't know why, because they said from 2 in the afternoon to 9 o'clock at night. So why is it coming to me now? That's all right. If we start hearing thunder and lightning.
So this is. It's just different. Oh. Yep.
I know. I wanted to go.
apologies. Hopefully they take that.
So do I need to read these? I don't, I still, I mean, I know you said if I want to, I can, but is the main, Dr. Colley will see these, right? So what's this main document that you refer to? That, you know, when you say compile everything?
Our evaluations will be complied into one.
Yep. For what purpose, though? What purpose does it serve?
That will be the final evaluation. It's a combination of the 5.
Okay.
So Karen will do that. Now, our individuals, you know, the proficient, needs improvement, that will be averaged in, but the comments, if you want your comments to be part of that final evaluation or report, then you need to speak, you need to say them in public.
I
Okay.
think the reason for that is to allow for an averaging out, basically. So if you, for example, had one member who wanted to put unsatisfactory, but then you saw that everybody else put, I'll go to the other extreme, exemplary, that one unsatisfactory kind of seems odd out. So they're actually averaged out in that final compiled document, and the comments taken into consideration in that one document. But they all become, once they're signed, they all become public record. So anybody can take a look at your document and this one and this one and this one. But for purposes, I guess, of just averaging out what everybody is inputting, it's one document that's created. I don't know why they do it that way.
Okay.
It does seem a little weird.
I also want to remind us that this is the mid-cycle.
Right.
This
Yes.
isn't
So, all right.
the full-blown out
Right.
So that- okay.
evaluation, which we will do at the end.
It'll look very similar.
So this is
September,
more
October.
of a check-in process of testing the waters to see if we think there are some places that need to be moved somewhere or another. The mid-cycle is not meant to be everything.
Okay.
But
But
when
it-
she compiles it, she will basically say, 2 members scored exemplary, 1 proficient, 1 unsatisfactory, and then list the comments underneath that were made.
Okay.
Not saying that you said this or he said this, just that these comments were made.
But so for example, can he look at these? Because that's what I would want. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Oh,
All
no.
right, good.
Our individual rubrics, assessments will be public. They're public.
Okay.
Our individual ones, and then they'll be combined into.
And that's
Yes.
what goes in my personnel file.
Okay.
So right, I'm putting 5 different ones.
He looks at them all.
One goes in.
All right. That's good. All right. Thank you.
All right, so just pass them forward if nobody wants to add anything else?
Oh, we're not commenting?
Yeah, oh, you are, okay.
Well, I didn't know
I
we
thought
were
you did-
commenting
yes,
as
well,
we were going.
They were, go ahead.
Because I think she has things that she wants to say too, I gathered.
Well, my comments were based so that Dr. Colley could know what my thoughts are and where I am. I don't necessarily need it to be, it's going to be public document, but I don't need to say them if it's a mid-cycle, and
Okay.
it doesn't need to be included in a big
That's fine.
document.
Okay.
So, Michelle, if you want.
I'll just speak overall. I think overall, as a district, you've done a good job keeping on target. I think all of the standards are on target at this point. I think everything does come back to the budget and the communication of the needs of each school. And I think that was one of our biggest concerns when we went through this, was communication in general to the schools, to the staff, and vice versa, and making sure that those doors stayed open. I think you've done a very good job increasing and improving communication between the schools, and I think the budget process
It's different.
moved that along, and then the ultimate ending also, we saw some of that in actually getting and working together with the town to come to a consensus of what we should do. My only minimal concerns at this point, I would like to see more initiative from administration on either starting for the example, the diverse learners stuff, starting those initiatives. Once they get brought to their attention, they do a great job at getting them going, but I'd like to see initiative, and I understand everybody is busy and everybody has got 75 hats on, but I do think that's one thing that really struck out to me in that, in the evidence that you presented, as well as everything else. A lot of it wasn't initiated by within. It was initiated from outside, and then, so I think I'd like to see more of that. I did want to comment on that, just so that you understood my chicken scratch.
I look at
Otherwise-
this process as maybe raising the awareness, not just mine, but everybody else, principals, teachers, of some of the things that are considered to be important, that perhaps we haven't paid attention for those kind of things in a while. And it is going to change a lot of the perception of many of the people working within the schools.
Right.
And that may be one of them, is
And I
that when they
also-
see it in their rubric, they're going to go, oh, we haven't paid attention to that.
Right, and I also think that the communication piece will help that, hopefully, build that as we go, and maybe this is just the starting point, and now we'll start to see that. And then my only other real concern in going through a lot of the stuff that we've been dealing with over the past 6 or 7 months is under the area of health and safety and whatnot, because they just took it all from me. We've really done a good job, and you've done a good job working with the police and working with the administrative staff to develop good quality safety measures that we have here. My one spot that I feel we really need to focus a little more on, and again, maybe it's something that we don't do because we don't see it coming up, is what do we do and how do we respond in a situation that has now become either emergency or something along those lines, whether it be health and safety or whatever. And we did have one example of that this year, and I just want to make sure that as a district we take a look at how we responded and figure out what we did right and build on that, and then figure out where we maybe dropped the ball and fix that. So that's in there also, and I just want to make sure that you understood what that comment was. So
Thank you.
Melissa?
I think also for me, I'm coming in, mid-cycle, and I haven't had the opportunity to be privy to what all of you have. So some of the things that I've made comments on are because I haven't had the opportunity to witness, where I think some of the other individuals from the committee have. So I think I feel that information that you did provide was very helpful. So just make note that I'm going in with only what I have in my head. I haven't had the opportunity to witness everything that everybody else has. And if there are questions, ask me too. I assume this can be a back and forth.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Good job. Okay, with that out of the way, we're into the action agenda. Art Colley?
As you know, Ms. Harkin is retiring, so we wanted to get ahead of the game and go through the process of looking for a new SPED director for next year. I have, we had a good screening committee. We had Sandy Alfoin Raposa. She's one of our speech and language therapists. Christina Borges, one of our teachers. Andrew Cottrell, he's a regular ed teacher. Tracy Pereira, a self-contained classroom teacher. Anna Larrabee, one of our SPED clerk. Tricia DeRoche, the clerk, the administrative assistant for Ann Harkin at this point. Tom Gastel as a principal, and Joanne Landry as a parent, who helped me interview. We interviewed like 10 people, I think. Brought it down to a field of 3, but at the end, I'm hoping that you approve the appointment of the person who is now our SPED supervisor, and we gave you some information. Elaine sent us. If you want to come forward and say hello. She'll be starting after August 1st, so there's some overlap between her work and Harkin's before Ann goes to Florida, or I don't know what she's going to do, but we're all envious.
Hello,
Ms.
everyone.
Santos, good evening.
Any questions for her?
Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been the special education supervisor here in the district for about 3 months now. So, sorry. Don't want to be too loud. Prior to that, I worked 25 years in the Fall River Public Schools. I was a special education team facilitator, so I was out chairing special education meetings for the last 9 years in my district. I was also the director of the summer school program there in the district, which housed about 20 students for the 5-week program, 200 students, and 20 special education teachers, along with ancillary service staff. So a total of maybe 100 staff members. I was a classroom teacher for 17 years, both in a self-contained classroom and in an integrated kindergarten classroom, which is a split of special education students and regular education students. So I was responsible for both the regular education piece of it and the special education piece of it. So I've had a little bit of everything kind of along the way. So that's basically my career up to this point in time.
Well, I'm sure you know what you're getting yourself into, so
I do. I've been watching Ms. Hawkins very closely, so.
I applaud you and all of you who do your work. Thank you. Anybody have anything?
I would actually just like to say thank you to the interview committee for going through that process. I have been part of those committees before, and it's not easy to do that, for sure. And to get it from 10 down to 3, and then ultimately the one that they're recommending, it's not an easy task. So, yeah, thank you to all of those people who volunteered and their time. So,
Thank you. So do we need a motion, Dr. Collins? So,
I'll make a motion to make this approval.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I welcome the
Welcome.
opportunity.
See you tomorrow morning at 6.
See you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning.
And the third parking spot, that's...
Oh, wait,
Okay.
The attendance officers, usually up till this year, the usual person that would bring attendance issues to the attention of the court used to be like the SROs or the police officers that are usually in the schools. Although some schools don't have SROs, so they appoint somebody else to be the attendance officer. It could be a guidance counselor, it could be a principal, it could be a teacher. The courts basically have decided they want school personnel bringing those complaints to the court. So we basically did a crash course for several of our staff to become attendance officers. So Rob Reed took the assistant principals and Julie Pacetto down to the court, put them through the paces. In fact, I would say the middle school assistant principal, Carolyn Ponce, has become more of the expert in this area. And we're starting to pursue, and it's very complicated because she basically ran us, several of us, through what it takes to put together a complaint, and the courts ask for a lot. But the message that we want to send out is that it's not okay for kids to miss very large numbers of days of school, because when you look at a 180 school day, when you miss more than 9, that's 5%. You miss 18 days, and now you're at 10%. You're missing a big chunk of your education, and just the gaps in between those days, trying to catch up when you're out, it makes it very difficult. And I understand there's kids who have medical issues. We try to work with them, but when there just seems to be a lack of concern that they're not in school when they're supposed to be, or are late, almost every day, it does affect their education. So we're trying to work with the 3 assistant principals, Mrs. Antonelli here, Mrs. Ponce at the middle school, Mrs. Stasowicz at the elementary school, and the principal, Julie Pacetto, at the MAC. And we just need an official appointing, even though they're already off and running and filling out the forms and bringing complaints. It's what they require, so it's just motion.
I will make a motion to appoint them to the attendance officers.
Second.
How many do we have right now? What is the kids that we have large numbers? What are we looking at?
Well, one of the things that, in working with the court, they don't give you hard and fast rules, but they give you some sort of guidance. And so what they've asked us to do is to start with the ones that are at the very top, maybe 20, 30 absences.
And we have kids with that many?
Oh, yeah. And
How many numbers are we looking at?
of that many absences, I would say there's 2 or 3 in every school.
Is it medical?
No, when I say absences,
those are just
some of them may be medical,
Those are unexcused.
but most of them, if we bring them to the court, it's because they're unexcused.
No, they're not. They're just by doing this, they are just doing the paperwork. They're not doing the legwork. He will still be doing the legwork to go to the homes if necessary, or all of that, correct?
He does that, but they
This
collect.
is just the filing of the paperwork to go to the courts, and
Well, yeah, they have to go to the hearings.
not just the filing, but, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But he's still doing the legwork to build the case.
yeah.
and
In
then-
some ways, although a lot of it is simply trying to get the parents to give you evidence of why the kid's not in school. But if there isn't any evidence, it's the assistant principal or the principal recording, hey, I called the parent 3 times, they didn't respond, we sent them 3 letters, they didn't respond, we asked for why the kid was out, they told us this. So they're in part building the record, but if it's any visits to the home, although I know some of the assistant principals have gone to the homes too. But
We
yeah, in
have.
many cases, we have sent.
It never happened to me, for the record.
I want to know.
3%.
I want to know. No, but yeah, Rob does a lot of the running to the house.
I just don't want to, I want to make sure, obviously this is adding more to their duties, but I don't want to be pulling them out of the schools to go and do that stuff. Going to the homes and knocking on the doors all the time either.
The one advantage I do see of this system, just so you know, is that because it's an assistant principal or principal, the courts can ask questions that perhaps an SRO would not be able
Sure.
to answer. For example, how is this affecting the student's education? So the assistant principal can hopefully bring to the court, here's the interventions we've tried to catch him up. They're not working because he's not in school when we even tried to provide the interventions or the time to catch up. Here's the grades. That information, it's a lot easier for an assistant principal or principal to bring to court, and they're very credible. So
Tony?
Melissa?
That doesn't, there's no breach of like information confidentiality because, I'm thinking about students' records because they're principals, they'll know those records. It's okay for them, and he would know, it's okay for them to give that information to the court, so,
you just made them officers of the court,
okay,
basically.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we haven't yet.
Oh, well, when you vote, yes, sorry.
Oh, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of a field trip at the West Grade 1 Roger Williams Zoo on June 14th, 2013.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And this is an out-of-state field trip. That's why we need to approve it. Any comments?
Well, is it okay to approve if, okay.
If your child is going, yes. That's still okay. Today it is okay.
It's just because they go out of state, that's all.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If we all abstained, there'd be nobody voting.
I know, that's what I was
Yeah, because
thinking.
there's 3 of us that have kids going.
I think I may be going on that field trip,
I'm
actually.
going as well.
Me too.
Approval.
It's a school committee field trip.
You're going to go
That's
see
okay.
the
To go
animals.
see the elephants.
Post a meeting.
Yeah,
Chaperone.
we should.
Chaperones.
Mhm.
Okay. I think we're still looking
It
for
just
the.
never happens.
We're still looking for the kid I lost last year when I did that.
Oh, no.
Approval of a $100 transportation donation from the Wayland City for the Westport High School and Westport Middle School SPED students to participate in the Special Olympics in Dartmouth.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Um,
You elaborate a little bit?
Well, we basically have been trying to do Special Olympics participation for some of our students who have special needs, including some of the ones that are more disabled or in our self-contained rooms. We want them to get to know the community and other students like them. And Wayland City, knowing that we were going and why we were going, they decided to donate. They're good people. So I'm very happy that they did this. They didn't have to.
That's
Usually we
great.
look for transportation and put out quotes and bids, and they
Well,
said,
it's
don't worry
certainly
about it.
appreciated. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, routine matters, approval of the minutes from Monday, May 6th, 2013.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any comments on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, school committee business. I have some stuff here. Dr. Colley, could you just give us a little update on the Day on the Hill?
Yesterday was the long postponed Day on the Hill. They usually do this earlier in the spring, so the legislative committees, particularly the Senate and the House Committees on Education, usually present to school committee members that go to the Hill, and the superintendents present what the pieces of legislature that they're considering, and some of the aspects around budgeting, so that school committee members and superintendents have a chance to meet with the representatives up there in their offices and advocate for the schools or advocate for different initiatives that the state may be considering. This year they postponed it to yesterday, which is just about the day they were going to go into, the Senate was going to go into deliberate on the budget itself. I was able to go and meet with Senator Rodriguez. I stopped by Paul Schmidt's office, but he wasn't there, so I'll try to catch up with him. And basically, both MASS, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, MASC, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and MASBO, Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials, usually put out position statements on many of the legislative initiatives. So I simply went over those with Senator Rodriguez. He gave me a good chunk of time, and I appreciate that. So I'm hoping next year they move it back to the time of year that's a little bit easier, I think, for people to participate in, and hopefully some or all of you can come. It is a good chance to meet with them. It's rather informal, even though it's in their offices, the real people. So I encourage you to come, and I brought back all the information that MASS was providing.
Okay. And I really tried to go, and I could not move enough things around.
I even offered to drive.
I know.
That's why you didn't want to go.
Yeah, but then I started speaking to. All right, then we got some stuff here from Mask, and if you guys want to take a look at this, so nothing crazy. Any comments or statements from the public? New business first. I'm sorry, new business.
Just, do you want to postpone Jay? I don't know if
He's
the
not
bus
here.
broke
Yeah,
down. I know
He had
we
a game,
skipped
I
over that.
assume.
Yeah, we'll put.
Yeah.
Like maybe at 6:30.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll throw him out next.
We'll move him to the next. Okay.
If it's not too late for that. Okay. Comments and statements from the public? Yes, could you please use that one there?
You get to sit.
Make yourself comfortable.
Paula Nordoff? Paula Nordoff? I don't know. It says it's on, yeah. I just had two questions regarding the evaluation process and the standards. You had commented that this is the mid-cycle review.
Mhm.
So when is the end-of-cycle review?
In
The way, okay, the way it works for most people is a 1-year cycle for administrators anyway. And the way the state set it up as a suggested template was to go from July 1st to June 30th. The problem is a lot of us administrators, and I speak not just for myself, but for some of my other administrators and superintendents I work with on the Cape Island and the southern region, we all have the same question: is a lot of our work gets some amount of evaluation based on how the students do. And the state evaluation system is not as responsive to that timeline, because you do the MCAS all spring long, and then the results trickle in anywhere between now and June. Hopefully we'll have some preliminary numbers on the reading, but even the rest of the ELA MCAS information won't come till later in the summer, and then the stuff for math and science doesn't really come into August, and it doesn't get published until September. So we kicked this around a little bit, and one of my goals was to look at how we are doing to improve student performance. So the choice was done to go from September to September.
So the short answer is the end of
So
September, October.
End of September once the results come out.
Okay, that's helpful. And just educationally for me as a parent on the unexcused absences and the preparation of materials, that end up going to the court. I'm just trying to understand, so we file a complaint with the court. Is it juvenile court? What is the court body that these?
It would be juvenile court.
Juvenile court?
Yeah.
And then the court decides whether any action needs to be taken?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Don't we have executive
Yes,
session?
we do. We're going to close out this meeting and convene.
Oh, okay.
It was posted separate.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So a second to adjourn.
Second to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we had scheduled, or we have scheduled an executive session. It didn't get, it was scheduled after this posting was done, so it wasn't posted on this meeting, but we are going to.
But it is posted.
It is posted.
Yes, it is.
It just wasn't on here. So we are going to go into executive session and not to return into open session. Yes, so
We need to
we
make
need
a
a roll
motion.
call.
We need to make a motion.
To go into executive, not to.
I will make a motion to go into executive session, not to return to open session.
Second.
All in favor? State
Aye.
your name.
Melissa Pacheco.
Aye,
Skipping
Tony
you.
Viveras.
I, Michelle Duarte.
Hi, Carolina Africano.